ndani. How are you?
So 1,253,577 learners sat their 2022 Kcpe in 32,555 centers across the country. I wish to announce that all these runners will transit to junior secondary school. Given that this is the first time such reports will be available for schools, I direct the Kenya National Examinations Council to collaborate with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and the Teacher Service Commission to assist the schools to properly interpret the reports for runners and the parents. I also direct the Council to hold joint discussions with the KICD and the TSC on the national Kcpe reports with a view to providing feedback on the CPC curriculum that can inform ongoing curriculum reviews. Junior secondary school. At the junior secondary school level, all the necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure that all runners join grade 7. The measures put in place include the following. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has directed that the National Treasury set aside 15,000 per annum as capitation to facilitate free running in all our public schools. In total, the government will spend Kenya shillings 9.6 billion for the runners in a junior secondary school this calendar year. It therefore means that no school should charge any fees for grade 7 runners unless such schools are reporting wings. I want to repeat, as you are aware, the amount that the government has been giving for secondary schools in the form of capitation is 22,244. And for primary, the amount of capitation that the government has been giving is 1,420. So because junior secondary, that is from grade 7, 8, and 9, is actually secondary, we have worked on a figure, and His Excellency the President did accept and agree with that figure, that the amount which will be given per student is 15,000, almost equal to what is given to senior secondary, because senior secondary, they will continue getting the amount they are getting, which is 22,244. Prohibition of public schools from charging any admission fee for any grade 7 learner due to the 100% transition policy in the same school where the runners were enrolled in grade 6. And this one will repeat that there will be no school fees payable in any of our public schools, because you know that this is the constitutional requirement that the basic education, primary to secondary, is compulsory and free. The Teacher Service Commission is in the process of recruiting 30,000 teachers, new teachers, the majority of whom will be attending to runners in the junior secondary school level. And in this, we want to assure the country that we have enough teachers. In actual fact, we have quite a number of graduate teachers based at our primary school level, and those teachers that are already in primary schools who are graduates will be teaching in junior secondary schools, and they have accordingly been prepared for the same. And also the number of teachers we are recruiting, a number of them will be graduates who will be posted to junior secondary schools. So the issue of lack of teachers to teach in junior secondary school does not arise, and they have also been accordingly prepared to undertake this particular assignment. Although runners join grade 7 in the schools where they were enrolled in grade 6, there is need to distinguish the junior secondary school section. As a result, a decision has been made that parents and boards of management agree on the new uniforms for junior secondary school runners. So we are also saying that at this particular level, because it is secondary, the uniform will not be the same, and each and every board of management will be able to make a decision as to the color and the type of uniform that students will be required to put on. And of course, as is the case, parents will have to bear the responsibility of buying uniforms for their children. Schools are expected to have a rapid admission process in place for junior secondary school runners through NEMIS. NEMIS is compulsory now that each and every school has to have it in place. An admission register must be in place with the proper induction and orientation program. The Ministry of Education is awaiting the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on education reforms regarding the curriculum for the CPC to inform any needed changes in the content of all levels of learning. As a result, we will be issuing more guidelines on the junior secondary education level from time to time. You remember that we have issued guidelines and we have issued preliminary kind of curriculum that will be used at the open schools, but again, the final one will be made by the Presidential Working Party, which is coming out toward the end of March. Once the report is presented to His Excellency the President the last week of March, we will be able to implement the recommendations that will be emanating therefrom. The Ministry will use the NEMIS platform for efficient and effective management and monitoring of learners in the school system. In this regard, principals will be required to file accurate daily returns on the status of reporting to schools. To mitigate against weak network coverage, the Ministry has developed an innovative offline admission application for principals which can be accessed through mobile phones. On the same note, principals are directed not to admit students on NEMIS before they physically report to the school. In addition, parents, guardians are encouraged to facilitate smooth admission of all learners to secondary schools by submission of the requisite documents for NEMIS registration. Affirmative action for transition and retention of needy students. The Ministry has been offering support to the needy students through a RIM scholarship. Previously, these efforts were further complemented by other scholarships from our partners from various organizations. In this regard, I wish to appreciate these scholarships and the bursary providers such as Equity Bank, Kenya Commercial Bank, Cooperative Bank of Kenya, National Government CDF. I want to thank the members of Parliament because part of the CDF funds also goes to bursaries, and the county governments who support the achievement of 100% transition. We request them to continue supporting us in this endeavor because it is by so doing that we can be able to ensure and achieve the 100% transition. I take this opportunity to thank well-wishers who have supported at least a student in covering costs of other non-tuition related expenses such as school uniform and personal effects for the needy children. The Ministry shall also strengthen the school feeding and sanitary towels provision programs to enhance retention in schools. Notable is also the Eduafia medical cover for all students registered in NEMIS in public secondary schools. The Ministry has issued fees guidelines for the boarding students to which schools should adhere to. I wish to state that public secondary school fees for the 2023 academic calendar year will not be changed and will remain at Kenya shillings 53,544, while that of county and extra-county schools will remain at Kenya shillings 40,555. I want to repeat this, that we are following the Kiremi Mwiria Task Force report, which did come out with the figure that national schools should pay, and that remains the way it was since 2016 at 53,554, and for county and extra-county schools, and for extra counties only those that are having boarding facilities, 40,555. On its part, the government will maintain its capitation per student in all public secondary schools at the Kenya shillings 22,244, and as I said, this is for senior secondary For lower, that is junior secondary, the figure is 15,000. Parents whose children are enrolled in public day secondary schools should not be charged any fees because the government is catering for all their tuition costs amounting to Kenya shillings 22,244. Parents should report instance of any student turned away for not paying higher fees and other levies to the nearest education office for action. I also wish to challenge parents and guardians to take their obligation seriously by ensuring prompt payment of school fees in boarding schools, particularly those in national and extra-county schools who are supposed to pay the 53,000 and those in boarding schools in county that are supposed to pay the 40,000. Given that about 70% of the secondary students are day scholars, it's a clear indication that more support should be directed in developing these schools. I therefore encourage all boarding schools to introduce day wings to enhance access and cut down the cost of education. This is also in line with CPC requirements for parental engagement in delivery of the curriculum. As you are aware, we have 72% of our schools are day schools. It's only 28% that are boarding schools. And in nomadic areas, we have those boarding schools because of the nature of life in those areas where parents keep moving from one place to another. So as a ministry and as a government, get it clear, we have not said that we are abolishing boarding schools. No, we are not abolishing. What we are saying is that, yes, with 100% transition, I think as we move forward, we also have to expand and provide better facilities for day schools because they are able to accommodate more numbers in day schools. Given that the ministry, in conjunction with other stakeholders, has developed policy guidelines to enhance the smooth management of education. It has been noted with concern that cases of non-compliance with some of these policies negatively affect transition, retention, and the quality of education. School boards of management should acquaint themselves with the existing policies and ensure implementation and compliance. Accordingly, there should be no cases of illegal exclusion, arbitrary suspension, and forced transfers of learners in public schools. I wish to bring to your attention the embassies of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya that all government business delivery mechanisms must be automated. And I think the deadline for all government agencies and all government ministries is supposed to be June of this year. In this regard, the ministry is committed to automating activities relating to service delivery by its clients. Sources of any information will therefore be migrated into NEMIS. Schools are called upon to ensure proper enlisting of students in NEMIS for capitation, Kcpe, Kcse, registrations, and the monitoring of students' affairs, including fees payment, disciplinary procedures, and class attendance. It will also be mandatory for schools to enlist all their board of management members and non-teaching staff in the platforms that shall be available in NEMIS. The learners joining grade 7 shall report their respective junior secondary schools on 30th January 2023. So you are aware, for the other cadre, we are opening the schools on 23rd, but for junior secondary school, they are reporting on 30th January of this month. The ministry is currently carrying out a comprehensive countrywide assessment of all public and private schools to determine their readiness to admit runners to junior secondary school. The exercise, which began on 9th January 2023, is set to end on this Friday, 20th January 2023. The assessment considers, among other factors, whether the respective school has adequate run to hold the junior secondary school level, availability of buildings to be used as classrooms and laboratories, and whether the school has adequate water and power supply. As of Friday, 13th January 2023, a total of 14,589 public and private schools had been assessed. Of these, 13,221 schools had been approved to host the junior secondary schools. I direct our merged sectoral teams to work around the clock to ensure they complete the assessment exercise by the 20th January 2023 deadline. As you can also confirm from these figures, that out of the 14,000 public schools that have been so far assessed, over 13,000 qualify, meaning they meet the minimum criteria that we set, and the schools that are not going to qualify are actually very, very few, and even those that don't qualify, we find either the enrollment of the students is below the required number. You get probably they are 10, they are 15, and it therefore makes a lot of meaning that we transfer them to the neighboring school where there will be enough facilities, teachers, and the rest. And in this, we are also providing, ensuring that the laboratories are in place, and for the time being, as we are in the process of doing them, the neighboring secondary schools, where they are available, they will also be used while we are in the process of ensuring that each and every school has the required facilities. I now come to Form 1 selection. Form 1 selection and placement exercise was undertaken to ensure smooth transition from primary to secondary schooling for the 2022 Kcpe examination candidates. This process has been carried out in a way that ensured fairness in the placement of Kcpe examination candidates of 2022. The placement was based on choice, merit, and availability of places. The 2022 Kcpe examination candidates constitute the sixth and second last cohort of runners under the 844 system to be admitted to secondary schools under the government policy of 100% transition. The ministry is committed to ensure that parents, guardians with runners joining Form 1 are not overburdened with unnecessary requirements. Principals should exercise caution while listing the requirements so that the cost of education is reduced as much as possible. And this one, we are insisting that we don't expect so many other requirements, because the policy of government is to make education accessible. So, apart from uniform and the amount that has been set by the government, we don't expect anything more. Principals should ensure that no student is sent away from school over illegal levies, and we are going to be very, very categorical, very strict on this. Let me now focus on the placement of 2022 Kcpe candidates. The ministry has placed all eligible candidates appropriately in secondary schools in keeping with the 100% transition policy. This selection process was strictly guided by the principles of merit, choice, equity, and availability of space in placing candidates. This was conducted as follows. For county schools, I'm now going to give you a breakdown on the admission to the various categories of schools that we have in the country. To county schools, we have admitted female a total number of 107,461 to join those schools. Male, we have admitted 91,566, making a total of 199,027. Extra county schools, which of course, as I said, a number of them are day schools, we have admitted a total number of 111,105 female and 117,055 male, making a total of 228,160. To national schools, we have a total of 106 national schools, as you are aware, in the entire country, and the female, we have been able to admit 18,794. Male, we have admitted 20,178, making a total of 38,972. Special needs, we have admitted female 871, male 948, total 1,819. Sub-county schools, we have admitted the majority, this is actually where the day schools are, 372,459. And those are the female. Male, we have admitted 387,203, making the total to be 762,610. Total admitted in all our schools, female is 610,690. Male, 616,950. So the total number of students admitted in all the 5 categories of our schools comes to 1,230,588, meaning that each and every one of them who did their Kcpe as a press in our secondary schools this year. In the placement, all candidates who scored 400 marks and above were placed in national or extra county schools of their choice. The special needs education candidates were also placed in the regular schools of their preference, while others were placed in special schools based on their disability categories on merit and choice. The ministry has applied affirmative action to achieve equity for children from the slum areas. In this year's selection, 270 students from slum areas were placed in national and extra county schools of their choice. This is in addition to those placed through merit and other criteria. This intervention is in line with the government policy to achieve parity in education by considering the needy and vulnerable children in informal settlements in urban areas. For the first time, the ministry placed 9,019 runners from primary schools located in the refugee camps in public schools. This is in line with the 2017 Djibouti Declaration on Regional Refugee Education that stipulates the need to enhance the capacity of IGAD member states to implement commitments to quality education and learning for refugees and host communities. The following counties had inadequate capacities according to their candidature as indicated in the table. Nairobi County, number of schools that we have secondary are 109 secondary schools. The capacity to accommodate in those schools is 27,145. The number of candidates we had in the Kcpe was 72,232, meaning that we have a deficit of 45,089. Kirivi County, we have a total of 164 secondary schools with a capacity of 31,258, and the Kcpe candidates we had was 41,470, meaning we have a deficit of 10,212. Mombasa, we have a total number of 56 schools, and the capacity is 12,801, with a total number of candidates being 22,360, meaning we have a deficit of 9,559. Kajiado County, we have 95 secondary schools with a capacity of 20,640. The number of Kcpe candidates were 25,605, and the deficit is 4,965. Turkana County, we have 63 secondary schools with a capacity of 12,096, and the candidates we had was 16,796 with a deficit of 4,700. Garissa County, we have 41 secondary schools with a candidature of with a capacity of 7,273. The candidature was 9,908. We have a deficit of 2,635. Kwara County, we have 104 secondary schools with a capacity of 22,633, and the number of candidates Kcpe was 24,442 with a deficit of 1,809. Taita Taveta, we have 54 secondary schools with a capacity of 6,768. The total number we had of candidates was 8,477. We have a deficit of 1,709. Kcpe County, we have 449 schools with a capacity of 41,184. The candidates we had was 42,262. We have a deficit of 1,078. Narok County, we have 171 schools. The capacity is 33,360. We have a number of candidates being 34,362. So we have a deficit of 902. Tana River, we have 38 secondary schools with a capacity of 5,232. We had a total of 6,035 candidates, so we have a deficit of 803. Baringo County, we have 176 schools with a capacity of 18,144. The number of candidates we had was 18,757. We have a deficit of 613. West Pokot, we have 185 secondary schools with a capacity of 16,178, and the number of candidates we had was 16,687. We have a deficit of 509. Ram County, we have 27 secondary schools with a capacity of 3,264, and the number of candidates was 3,760. We have a deficit of 496. To mitigate the shortfall in these 14 counties, candidates were placed in other counties with sufficient capacities. And mostly the neighboring counties where we have enough schools with infrastructure, meaning that even those counties that don't have adequate schools with adequate facilities, we have been able to cater for those students who were not able to get admission within their own counties. The above scenario can be considered an eye-opener to an underlying problem
that calls for serious early redress in the work of CPC. It is against this background that I will take a personal initiative to consult with the leadership from these areas to address this perennial deficit in capacity. I will engage with members of parliament and the county governors so that they know of this problem. They can be able to allocate resources from CDF so that we are able to have enough capacities as we move forward, so that they can be able to accommodate more students. During the selection process, it became clear that a large number of candidates did not receive proper guidance and direction when choosing schools. This resulted in some schools attracting far many applicants against their capacities. These schools include Kabianga High School, which has a capacity of 768, attracted 153,078. Yeah, you can see we have only 768, and this time we have said no one will be able to go beyond the capacity as given by the ministry. This was the total number of applicants. Nanyuka High School had applicants 148,827. They can only accommodate 576. Nyandarua High School, the total number of applicants were 137,511, and they can only accommodate 240. Pangani Girls had 119,265 applicants, and they can only be able to accommodate 384. Maseno High School had 105,504, and they can only be able to accommodate 720. Alliance Girls High School had 104,765, and they can only be able to accommodate 384. Nakuru High School had a total of 103,909, and they can only be able to accommodate 336. Kapsabet Boys had a total of 99,542, and they can only be able to accommodate 384. Mangu High School, they have a capacity of 480, and the number of applicants was 98,146. Putere Girls High School, the total number of applicants was 95,550, and they can only be able to accommodate 768. I've taken the 10 top to indicate that there are schools where almost we get so many applicants, and yet the vacancies, the capacity for that school is so few. The result of the above means many candidates will not get their choices, and have to accept that it is not possible to be placed in your dream school. I wish to call upon head teachers and parents to ensure that candidates make wise choices through proper advice. In addition, it was noted that 33,984 students from 2,673 schools did not select any school. So we have those who did the exam, and actually some of them did very well, but we found out that they never made any selection. To this end, I direct the county directors of education to establish the concerned schools with a view of instituting administrative actions against the head teachers and schools management for failing to adequately register runners for examinations. However, even those that did not apply, indicate any school of their choice, We have also been able to place them in various schools. We did not leave them out because, of course, they failed to make a choice. We have also catered for that. The reporting period for all 2023 Form 1 students will be from 6th February 2023 to 13th February 2023. In the case of any queries, parents are advised to visit their respective county directors of education for assistance. I'm directing that all admitted students should be captured on NEMIS by 2nd March 2023. All the CDs are required to ensure compliance with this requirement because it is on the basis of them being captured in the NEMIS that as a ministry, as a government, we will be able to give out capitation. As I conclude my remarks, I wish to announce that this year's Form 1 selection was fully computerized from national to sub-county levels. Candidates, parents, or guardians can now access joining instructions that are available online for all categories of schools through the ministry's website, www.education.go.ke. Let me repeat again, the ministry's website is www.education.go.ke. For any queries, you are asked to check on frequently asked questions under Form 1 selection. Assistance may be obtained by writing an email to placement@education.go.ke. Any inquiries, one can be able to send an email and we will be able to respond to placement@education.go.ke. The research can also be checked by texting the candidate's index number to 22263. Let me repeat again. Parents can also be able to get the schools that their children have been taken to by indicating the candidate's index number to 22263. So from right now, as we conclude this, one will be able to know which particular school he or she has been admitted to. Schools will access and download their selection list by logging into the NEMIS platform. So each and every school, may it be a national, may it be extra county, may it be county or sub-county, will also be able to get the list of those who have been admitted into their respective schools by getting into the NEMIS platform. Parents are asked to take their runners to the schools they have been placed in. Those who may not be satisfied may approach desired schools for assistance. I now wish, ladies and gentlemen, to declare the 2023 Form 1 selection, placement and admission results for the 2022 Kcpe examination candidates officially released. Thank you and God bless. Thank you very much, members of the press. We thank you for coming over, and I think that is it. We will be able to give you copies of this, and I said we are arranging, we are making an arrangement in a month's time or so, where we'll be engaging you from time to time because we require to communicate what is happening so that Kenyans can be able to understand, particularly on the junior secondary, that indeed, all is well. We require to communicate for Kenyans to understand that CPC is the best way to go, of course, with the necessary
necessary amendments that has been done going forward. In case there is a question or two, I'm with my colleagues here. You can ask one question or two. Appears to come, Rosa. And I see you come to Rosa. And who is next? And the DG come to Rosa. Yeah. Yes.
The secondary side of the education sector had done a lot of construction work to enable junior secondary to be placed into that sector. Now we are going into the primary school sector. We have that challenge of, in terms of capacitation vis-a-vis the number of candidates, what are parents expected to do in case the number of primary schools do not have the capacity to host the large number of candidates who are transitioning into grade 7. And then there's another question by parents. Some of the books that the children are using, we are writing inside them. And it's a concern for many of them that they cannot have them used and as the way your children can have another and another use the same kind of books. How does the ministry address some of those quarters? And the issue of uniforms, how soon do you expect the grade 7 class to be wearing the uniforms?
I think we take two and then you are noting the questions. Yes?
My name is Shadrach Michi from Kcpe. Now on the issue of junior secondary, are we expected, in terms of governance, are we expected to have two sets of board of management so that we have one that is currently in existence taking care of primary school, and then now that junior secondaries are again being domiciled within the same structure, are we going to have an extra board of management taking care of junior secondary? And again, back to the issue of preparedness of primary schools, particularly public schools. Your predecessor, that's Professor Mago, had indicated that by the time he was leaving, the audit had indicated that just about 1,500 primary schools have been found to be ready to host junior secondary. And I'm asking this question based on the fact that one of the key requirements for the school to be allowed to host junior secondary is to have an operating laboratory. So among the primary schools that we have, based on the audit by the ministry, are there that could be having functional laboratories?
Yeah, thank you. I think we will answer up to there and then we proceed. One is to give assurance that you have seen from the assessment that we have done that out of the 14,000 schools, 13,000 actually qualify, such that the number that don't meet the threshold are not so many as such. We have about 23,000 primary schools. So taking the average out of what we have done, even going forward, you can see that most likely over 20,000 primary schools will be able to qualify. We have confirmed, yes, there were secondary schools which had also put up additional classrooms. But even then, you can see the kind of enrollment we also have in secondary schools, such that the kind of facility that has been put up in any secondary school will be required, taking into consideration that we have 100% transition into secondary schools as they are getting into that level. We took up many considerations before coming up with a decision. Indeed, the research, the counties, the Prudential Working Party went to each and every county in this country. There are 47 counties, and they were able to get the views of Kenyans. Kenya said, yes, this is a good system. It has to undergo a little bit of review, and 82% of Kenyans said this has to be domiciled in primary schools. And there were so many reasons which informed that particular decision by Kenyans. And we also engaged, apart from the 47 counties, so many stakeholders were engaged. The unions gave their views, Kcpe gave their views, and taking that into consideration in totality, the answer was Kenyans wanted this domiciled in primary schools. Two, yes, there are some which have laboratories, and as I said, we are giving capitation of 15,000 per student, meaning there are schools which are going to get 10 million, there are schools which are going to get 15 million, and there are schools which are actually going to get even 20 million. We are putting up a mechanism to ensure that, of course, that money will have to be used for the purpose for which they are intended. Uniform, as I've said, we have reviewed the board of management. As of now, going forward, we might have two categories, but as of now, we will be able to make use of one board of management. But going forward, there might be changes that will be necessitated by the two levels. For now, we will have one principal, but going forward, we might also come up with a few changes where we will have certain categories, as will be outlined by the guidelines that we will be issuing from time to time. So, to give you assurance that all is well. Laboratories, I said, where they don't exist, sometimes we will be using the neighboring secondary school, because our assessment, our research has confirmed that a number of secondary schools are also within the same compound with some primary schools, and we are also going to provide some basics, even mobile laboratories, so that we start off as we are putting up permanent structures, which we have said our members of parliament, the CDM money they get, we have requested that they prioritize laboratories this particular year above every other thing. I would now ask my peers, the other people that have not been able to cover, my peers to cover, because we are here as a team. Peers.
Thank you very much. I have been consulting the CEO of Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development on the question of books. And we have confirmed that the books that are issued to our children are not the books that you write on. These are core material that you use to get content, and students are able to write on their exercise books. That is the situation as is now. I know there could be people who, there is what we call supplementary materials, where you can go to a bookshop and buy, and sometimes in those supplementary materials, not the core materials that we issue to schools, you may find that some publishers may be having books which you can write on, but what we give to our schools as core books are books that you read, extract content, and such content can be put into exercise books that our children have been issued with. I think that was the only question that remained in terms of most of the other questions have been captured by the Cabinet Secretary. So thank you very much. I think with those...
We can now, there's three more, and then we are sensitive of gender, the two ladies and the other friend.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. My question, I have two questions. My name is Kevin Mihona from Mwangaza TV. What system was used in the selection of secondary schools that led to excess selection of some schools, and what do you intend to do to avoid that come this year? The last question, what action will you take for the schools that increases school fees?
Thank you. Thank you. Another one?
Okay, my name is Judy Omondi from Ramogi TV. Now, with your remarks that some of the graduate teachers who are in primary school will be absorbed into junior secondary school to maybe help out in teaching the 13 subjects areas. Is there any particular agreement between TSC and these teachers?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Stanley Lugaria from the former Kcpe. My question is to the TSC. The CS has announced that they are going to hire over 30,000 teachers. We have a shortage of over 114,000 teachers. Are they enough to help in the new CBC system? And at what percent are you going to share them across so that you share them across all the faculties that are divided?
One more, that one, yes, yourself.
Thank you. My name is Brenda Wanga from Citizen TV. My question goes to the CS. You have said that aside from uniforms, especially when it comes to the Form 1 placement, that parents should not be asked to buy a lot of extra things aside from the uniform. How are you going to reach with them? Given the fact that when the calling letters come, the list of requirements is usually very long and sometimes actually surpasses the tuition fees for the students joining Form 1. How would you make sure that that is adhered to the directive that you just given right now? And secondly, this is on the higher education. In the ministry sees of the financial troubles that some of the universities are facing, most of the lecturers now complain that they have not received their pay for years. Some of them are even reported to have gone into depression as a result of this. Thank you.
Thank you. We will cover as many questions as possible, but I think up to there, because I've said we are going to provide another forum, because from now on we'll be able to have a continuous engagement, because education is so key. We don't want you to get information from any other source. We want you to be getting information from myself, my PSS, and my senior officers here. Nancy, the Chief Executive Officer, is going to answer the question on teachers. But one thing that we must appreciate as Kenyans, even if I ask you which is the last time that we were able to recruit 30,000 teachers, I think I cannot even remember the year. So this is a record. This time, under the new administration, realizing the need that we require enough teachers in order for us to have effective teaching in our secondary and primary schools, the government committed to recruit 30,000 teachers, leave alone the normal that they are also recruiting another 6,000. So the total we are recruiting this year is actually 36,000. And going forward, we will also be recruiting such big numbers. Why? Because we are also aware of the economy of this country. Education sector takes over 28% of the total budget, because there are also other sectors, but the highest so far is education. This particular year, we are, I think, taking with these increased figures, 620 billion from the lowest sector, which is basic, to Tibet, to university. So progressively, we will be increasing the numbers such that our schools will be adequately staffed, but my sister, Nancy Machara, will be able to cover the rest. I also want to state that, yes, our secondary schools, you know, you cannot stop people from making choices. You cannot stop them from making choices. And Kavianga, for some reason, I think people from that region and beyond, others look at performance, others look at other factors. So that's why we said we will require some guidance and the people to know that, yes, if I ask you here, you good people, these schools that each and everybody wants,
probably 10% are the ones who went to those schools. Others must have gone to sub-county schools, but you are here. And so many Kenyans who are professors, high-ranking officials, went to those schools. So there are so many other factors which determine success at that particular level, not just the school. And not all of us really can be in Kavianga at any given time because we cannot be able to overstretch the capacity. And I think our county directors, as I said in the speech, and sub-county directors of education, and even parents, we have work to do so that people can understand, yes, it is not only this school. School has teachers, they have the other required facilities, so our students can also be able to get the grades from those other schools. I think my colleagues will be able to cover the other questions. I now ask the CEO, Teacher Service Commission, to cover the other aspect of that question as we move forward.
Okay, thank you, Waziri. I think you have covered the issue of the 36,000 teachers. Remember, we have been saying that we counted the number of grade 7 classes, and we found that we have 30,550, and we are sending a teacher, one teacher per that class in the whole of the country. And then, of course, we shall be mapping out those ones with the higher qualifications, and we have vetted them. We have used a standard criteria, and I think I'm now answering the two questions jointly. We have a standard criteria of vetting the teachers with higher qualifications, and we have vetted them, and we are mapping them. So what it means is that as these children report to grade 7, they already have a teacher posted there who will act like a mentor for the other teachers who will then join as we continue to vet those teachers with higher qualifications from primary school. And yes, we have not closed that gap. We still have a shortage, but this is a transition period where we have to do everything possible to ensure that JSS has teachers. And as the minister has said, this is this time TSC has actually recruited the highest number of teachers ever. And so progressively and hopefully as the economy improves, we should be in a position now to close the other gap left by after recruiting the 36,000 teachers.
I will now ask my PS, but I want to be very categorical here that the admission letter is almost standardized, and that whatever it means, we will not expect additional requirements. We will not expect other levies imposed on the parents, because we are aware and cognizant of the fact, the economic times we are in, that if we impose so many unnecessary levies, then our policy, our constitutional requirement of ensuring that education is free and accessible, then that will be in doubt. So anybody doing that, and the county directors of education, all of us are monitoring each and every school. Our quality assurance officers, who are spread almost each and every part of the country, if we get anybody going against what the government has said, then you can all see all of us are here. The necessary disciplinary action will be taken, but we are hoping that our teachers, our principals have heard us clearly. We have done circulars on this, that indeed no such case will arise where we get people imposing illegal levies, and even parents and Kenyans. Where you get that kind of situation, kindly bring it to our attention, and we will ensure that expeditiously we take the necessary remedial action. Yes.
Thank you, CS. I think you've essentially captured all the areas that we were needed to do. And I'm sure, Nancy, there was one thing which was raised in terms of the teachers who will be required to teach junior secondary. I would want to say, just like being a teacher myself, is that the teaching between primary and secondary and junior secondary will be within the workload of a teacher that is required in a week. So really there will be no extra teaching. We shall be able to spread it out in such a way that we don't exert pressure on a teacher because there is junior secondary. So it will be properly spread out so that, but I would not want to go into details. I think I'll request Nancy to come back and just clarify on that. On excess levies, you know, we made it very clear that it is not anything that we would even want to discuss, because you are using the right word, excess. So if it is excessive, then it means it is not within the regulations. And anything that is not within the regulations and you are doing, then there are consequences. And some of those particular consequences will be therefore applied on those who are going outside the regulations. And we shall encourage our teachers that mainly on the issue of uniforms, as much as we can be, where possible, let's give our parents the freedom to be able to identify places where they can buy uniforms so that they can be able to get competitive prices and reduce the cost of education. We would want to discourage as much as possible situations where parents are guided to specific places to get uniforms, so that it is as wide as possible, and therefore parents can be able to engage and be able to get competitive costs and prices for their children. So thank you very much. I think finally Nancy will just capture that section. But once again, we thank all of you for having found time to join us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PS. I had not gotten that very clearly. But what we're saying is that if, for example, we vet that teacher who has higher qualifications and has all the prerequisites to teach in secondary school, what will happen is this teacher then will not teach in primary school, and therefore it means if the load, the average load for secondary school, since we have not changed that as now is 27 lessons, that teacher who has been picked then will just teach the 27 lessons in the secondary school and will not now be expected to go back and teach in primary school. So, I mean, the teacher will be that flexible. We are not adding an extra burden, and we don't expect to add an extra burden to the teacher. We shall be looking at it as we go through the transition.
Now, let me say about universities, because there was a question. My brothers and sisters, you are aware that His Excellency the President appointed a working party, a presidential working party. Since independence, I think it is the second ever. And when you look at the terms of reference of the presidential working party, among them is matters to do with higher education, our universities. As you rightly pointed out, it's not that we are not aware. Of course, we give capitation to our universities, but they are faced with various other challenges. We know of the pending peace we have. We know of the situation in some universities that we have said about lecturers. But I want to assure you and the Kenyans on one thing, that none other than His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya is very much aware of the situation in our universities, and we are awaiting for the report that is coming from the Presidential Working Party, which I'm sure is going to make a raft of recommendations concerning that sector. And once we come up, and that report will be ready by last week of March, when it is supposed to be handed over to His Excellency the President. When His Excellency the President receives the report, then we will be able to undertake
implementation on the many areas that would have come from the Presidential Working Party. Among the people who are also in the Presidential Working Party are vice chancellors of universities, eminent Kenyans, educationists. So they have also made their presentations almost each and every university. Indeed, even on Friday and Saturday, those of you who are monitoring the president, that is excellent, the president had an opportunity to go to. One such institution was University of Tom Mboya in Homa Bay, where he commissioned a tuition probe, and some of the issues were also discussed concerning universities. On Saturday, he also did commission the research hub center on blue economy at the Jaramogi Odinga University in Siaya, in Pondo, and some of these issues were also conversed. So I ask you to be sure that we are coming up with something that will be permanent solution, a sustainable solution to what is ailing our university sector. And in the course of this year, as you work with us, it's one of the areas that we'll be talking about. And in our next meeting with you, which I've given you an assurance, because there are so many issues that we'll be engaging with you, because you have a purpose. You have to inform, and through you, we will be informing Kenyans. I will be here with my PS, university, higher education. I will be here with my PS, technical and vocational education, and it is exactly on some of those issues that we'll be able to inform you from government side what is being done and the way forward. So thank you very much, members of the fourth estate, and we look forward to working very, very closely with you, because it is only by working very closely with you that Kenyans will be able to get what is accurate on matters education, that the Kenyans will be able to know that all is well, particularly on the junior secondary school, that the Kenyans will know, yes, there is a review that is being done, and that their recommendations that the Presidential Working Party is coming up with, we will not add a comma, we will not even add a full stop. It is the way it will come out of the Kenyans. That is what we will be able to implement as government. So thank you very much, and I look forward to regular engagements with you. And as I have promised with my team here, in a month's time also, we will be having probably 5-6 hours, even more, so that we are able to engage more, and each and every one of you wanting to raise a question or a comment will have an opportunity to do so. So thank you, and I want to press you all. Thank you.
Hala. Yes. Sawa. Punguza iris. He's working on that. Moja mbili tatu 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3. Simsikii Nick vizuri. Simsikii Nick. Nicholas Wambua, mwaka jana mwezi Novemba kulikuwa na mitihani miwili, moja ambayo haijulikani hasa kama mtihani, manake ni tathmini ya kitaifa ya wanafunzi ambao walikuwa ni wa grade ya 6 watakaojiunga na grade ya 7, na hayo ni mambo muhimu ambayo Waziri Machogu ameyazungumza hapa katika taasisi ya Kcpe, pamoja na ule mtihani wa Kcpe mwaka 2022. Wanafunzi zaidi ya milioni 2.4 anasema wote wataweza kupata nafasi katika junior secondary school na vile vile katika shule za upili kote nchini. Nikianza na ule mtihani wa grade wa 6, anasema kwamba ifikapo Januari 30 wanafunzi wote wa grade ya 7 wanatarajiwa kufika shuleni, hii ikihitajika kwamba wataweza kuingia katika taasisi ya pili ya elimu hiyo yao ya msingi. Wao wanasema kwamba kuanzia sasa shule hizi za msingi ambazo zitakuwepo na ndio muhimu kwa wanafunzi hawa kupata masomo, watahitajika kuwa na sare tofauti za kutofautisha upande wa elimu ya msingi ambao ni kuanzia grade ya 1 hadi grade ya 6 na vile vile grade ya 7 hadi grade ya 9 wataweza vile vile kuwa katika shule ambazo kwa sasa ni za msingi walimu 30,000, huku CEO wa TSC Nancy Macharia akisema kwamba wameangazia swala hilo kulingana na idadi ya madarasa ambayo yatakuwepo. Vile vile amezungumzia swala la wale walimu ambao kwa sasa wanatoa mafunzo yao kwa elimu ya msingi shule za primary level. Wanasema kwamba wale ambao wako na labda shahada tofauti na wanaweza kufunza katika shule za upili wataweza kujiunga na zile shule za junior sekondari na kuweza kutoa mafunzo. Walimu wameombwa wasitoze hela zaidi ya zile ambazo serikali imeweza kutoa. Serikali inasema kwamba capitation ile ambayo itawatolea kila mwanafunzi katika sekta